It's all right.
Technician's not here, man.
I know it. That's all right. He can stay where he's at.
Still real sick.
Our whole crew does.
Yeah, I heard.
The height, we had one person here.
Oh.
And that was during that bad weather, probably.
It was. Struggle.
Okay. Call to order. The January 11th. Sylva Board of Commissioners meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone. Got to have some folks to speak to us. Let's see that. First thing on our agenda is to approve the agenda. I would entertain a motion that would someone would approve the agenda.
That motion?
Have any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, by like sign. Motion carries. Moving on. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make the motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Motion, do we have any discussion? No discussion, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, by like sign. Motion carries. Next thing on the agenda is public comments, and we have one person signed up to speak, Mr. David Nestor.
Hello, everybody. So there's a couple of things on your agenda that are replacing you on a few boards. And I am just here really quickly to ask for the Home Consortium Board that you replace me with Natalie. I think she'd be an excellent candidate. It's a very important board that gives out a lot of money and can have a big impact on housing. And I noticed in the newspaper article when Dave asked you all what your priorities for the year were, given infinite funds, Natalie's the only one that mentioned housing. And then same thing in the commissioner debate. The three goals, I think Natalie at least was the first person to mention housing. So it's very important, I think, that issue be on the forefront of whoever takes that board, that position on that board. So I would just ask that it be Natalie, and I don't ask a whole lot right here. That's it. Thank you.
There. Yeah, so have other people signed up, but no one's signed up to speak, is that correct? Okay. So moving on, to reports. Guess it starts with me. Had a couple of things that citizens have came to me about that I thought I'd just bring an air out. There's a couple of ladies that sent me pictures of the broken corner off of the brickwork in front of the police department to surround the flower bed. And our staff is covered up with work and they're down with flu. And it's been mentioned, Mark and I discussed it, and I know not too many of us at a time can do things together, but we would be willing to volunteer our time and take some more folks with us and just go voluntarily fix that for free if it's allowed and permitted by the board. So I was think y'all's feelings about that. And then there's another lady that has made mention that there's a need for some guardrail on Kings Mountain at the lower end of the switchback curve below the old Ronnie Childers house. And I've discussed it with Jake. I've showed it the picture. We've looked at it together. Jake's come up with a great plan. We have enough used guardrail taken down from Allen Street to be used. And I will need a quote from either Bullington or Mills or both. I will see what costs cheapest just to do the locate and drive the guardrail post for us, and we can take care of the rest and satisfy that need for safety. And Jake feels like there's a need for safety there for the snowplow drivers as well. So I think that would be a good thing. My mind is open but there's plenty of people that have made mention to me that they'd like to see a better dog walking area in the city limits of Sylva. So anybody that would like to bring something to light about that, I'm all ears and willing to listen. And, the sidewalk issue has come up quite a bit, especially back during the campaign. But, the ordinance that we have in place, is something that I may want to bring up to ask the planning board to look at that and review it, and how well we're doing with that and how necessary is it in all the places that we're doing it. But for now, on the 107 project, the DOT is pretty much taking care of it for us. They're not gonna grant any encroachments and not gonna be involved in any three-party agreements with building sidewalks where they're gonna tear them out next year. So it's just a waste of money. So the DOT is pretty much quote unquote put a moratorium on the 107 project. So that's just for public information. But that concludes my report, and I call on Mary.
Yep. I just have one item this evening. I had a conversation with motion makers recently about the skate park that we have on their property. And it's in need of some maintenance and some care that could be voluntary or it could be through Public Works. I just want to know what the right protocol is. The ramp is needing some exterior paint, and the smaller ramp, the concrete is broke up. So it's not a smooth ride for bicycles or for skateboards, and it needs some concrete. They're both minimal projects that could be voluntary, but I just want to get the board's permission to either initiate that voluntarily, or if we need to ask Jake in the Public Works to address those two issues.
We'll let Jake and him take a look.
Thank you. And Larry at Motion Makers is the point of contact that I had. That's all.
Okay,
I've got nothing to report. Thank you.
report. Mr. Jones.
I've got a couple of things I'd like to address real fast. Back on the December 14th meeting we had, Luther Jones had brought up about signs pointing towards Pinnacle Park and what our thoughts were. And I'd like to address that back to him and as well as the board. I think he's got a fantastic idea. I think since the town has taken upon supporting the Pinnacle Park and we have plenty of money to use, I was talking with Johnny and asked him if he knew who owned the property across from Fisher Creek. And we think it's BT Green. And I would like to try to get some interest from a board on this and which, how we're steered, because I'm not very versed in this. How do we steer about maybe approaching this and approaching BT and see if we couldn't make a very nice two-sided sign similar to the one coming into town. It says, "Welcome to Sylva." Some nice decorative flowers, rock. I mean, we've got plenty of money in the Pinnacle Park Fund. Why not let's use it and really put up some nice signage right there. Now, we have to keep it back off the road out of the line of sight, but we could still dress it up as nice. And of course, I know we'll have to get with Jake and find out the maintenance and what of this we can do in-house and, what it costs to make the sign. And, I'd just like to, with Luther bringing it up, I think it's a great idea. Pinnacle Park, if you've never been up in there, it's very nice. It's gorgeous. And it's a place that we need to recognize. And Luther, great idea. And, I did mention, when I mentioned it to Johnny, if we did spend the money on a sign like that, anything's gonna be a whole lot better than what the state would provide. And we may still ask for the state for a couple of small road signs directing traffic that way. The only other thing that I would like to discuss or like to bring up is I'm all about upgrading, all about bringing things up to speed. Down behind the Blue Ridge Motel down here, that sidewalk and that handrail. Think for ADA purposes, we need to address that handrail. It's only a single strand handrail. I feel like it needs to be double stranded. There's some patchwork needs to be done on the sidewalk down through there, and I think this is a great time to investigate and see where we can spend emergency money to try to, let's make that better. We use it a lot, like during the parade. Sure, that sidewalk's used a lot in the summer. And I think we just need to bring it back up. It would say something for our town. When you drive into town coming from that area, see an old rickety deteriorated handrail, I think it's time to upgrade. So I don't know how to pursue it from here, but I just wanted to bring it in and see where we need to go from that.
Everyone. I just want to report that I met with Bernadette Peters last week. I know about her and her job with the town and what she does. I think she's doing a great job. I also got to meet with Mike Beck, had a tour of the fire department. And got to meet the cat. And he showed me all the equipment and how everything works. It's a great thing. That's all I got. No.
I have nothing to report today.
So moving on to our manager's report.
Okay, several items here we sent to you this week on the citizens are aware of some of these issues. On the 25th, you have your regular meeting at 9, and after that, we start the budget meeting session, and that will more than likely go until sometime well after lunch. So if you would be prepared to stay here most of the day. I would still like to have from each of you at least 5 items, that you would like to see accomplished during your term in office. So this yearly, we get that then we prior to the meeting. Let's see, item number 2, the fire department is going to be doing live learning trainings. They have about 5 buildings. I think they've got one scheduled for this Saturday, maybe.
Next Monday.
Okay, next Monday. And then after that, they'll be burning the other 4. You see a big fire, that means it's what it is on that evening. The chief is still short 2 officers for the police department. We are currently advertising, and I'm hoping we'll have those filled. The town hall will be closed Monday to Thursday. So you come out and the door is locked. Garbage is going to be picked up Friday. Wednesday is our normal scheduled day, but on Wednesday, 99% of our staff was out sick with the flu. Some have still not come back, so we hope we will have enough time to stay here Friday. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so moving on to new business, we have points to address here. And I thought it would be a good idea to have Mr. Russ Harris come and speak to the board, and sort of explain how his operation works.
Mayor, did I understand that you're volunteering your backyard to be the new Sylva dog park? Is that what you?
It already is.
My dogs have envy. They have yard envy. It's your backyard. So I'm Russ Harris, Executive Director for the Southwestern Commission, and we're what's called a Council of Government. Sometimes you'll hear people refer to us as COGs. The state of North Carolina is divided up into 16 COG districts. Our service area is the 7 westernmost counties from Haywood West, the towns within those counties, the eastern band of Cherokee Indians. So we were created in 1965 through interlocal agreement of all those local governments. So all elected officials in our region are non-voting members of our board. And then the town of Sylva has 1 voting member, and generally that's the mayor unless it's delegated to someone else. Our mission is to improve the quality of life in the region.
And we do this through the work of our three departments. The Area Agency on Aging, which brings funding to the region for things like home delivered meals and other services for older adults. Our Workforce Development Department, which brings training funds to the region, both for businesses and employees. And our Community and Economic Development Department, which does everything from broadband to water, sewer. And then we have two programs within Community and Economic Development that have their own boards. And so that's why we're here tonight. One of those is the Southwestern NC Home Consortium. I've got Lene Schuler with me here tonight. She runs that program for us. A couple of years ago, we were looking at ways to bring funding to the region for housing. We're here from all our board members that it's kind of a crisis level. And home HUD funds are a pretty flexible source of funding, but they only go to urban areas unless you can get rural communities to form together and join a consortium. And so that's what the governments in the West did about 3 years ago. It brings about $700,000 a year to the region. You can purchase property, you can go to rental assistance, down payment assistance, new construction. As I said, it's pretty flexible funding. So you all have a seat on that board. So that's one of the two appointments. And then the other one is for the Rural Planning Organization. And I'm going to ask Rose Bogus, our senior planner, just to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rose Bogus and I run the Southwestern Rural Planning Organization, also called the RPO, which, believe it or not, stands for Transportation. They were created from within the Department of Transportation, so they didn't feel like they needed to put that in the acronym. But we provide transportation planning services for the Southwestern region, and each local government has a seat on that board as well. And it's called the Transportation Advisory Committee. And I have a handout for that if you'd like any more information on it, but we'd like one of the members of the town of Sylva board to serve on that committee as well. We meet immediately before the Southwestern Commission board meeting, so about 5 meetings a year, every couple months on a Monday evening. Not a huge time commitment, and we work on long range transportation plans, prioritization, and funding. We get together every few years to try to get projects into the NCDOT State Transportation Improvement Program, which provides funding and schedules for projects and of all different modes: highway, sidewalk, aviation, all those projects. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, along with the appointments, the first one on our agenda is the RPO. And that has typically been the mayor in past years. I am willing to serve on it if the board so chooses. So I open the floor for nominations for the RPO board.
I'd like to make the nomination that we nominate Mayor Johnny Phillips to serve on the Rural Planning Organization.
Any other nominations? If no more nominations, I will ask you to vote by raising your hand and say aye in favor of it.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign, and the motion carries, and I'll be glad and honored to serve on that. We have an appointment to the Southwestern Home Consortium Board of Directors, and it has been discussed to some degree. We have one particular board member that takes a great interest in home and affordable housing, and she has taken a great interest in this. I'm in no position to make a nomination, but I recommend for the board to appoint Natalie Newman to that board.
I'll make that nomination.
So we have a nomination. Do we have any more nominations? Okay, being none, all in favor of Natalie Newman serving on the Home Consortium Board of Directors, raise your hand and say aye. All opposed by like sign, motion carries. So, we have an appointment to the Historic Preservation Committee that is presently filled by Mr. Luther Jones. And it's been brought to my attention that he is willing to continue to serve another term on that board. So giving the board that information, I will open the floor for nominations for the Historic Preservation Committee.
I'll make that nomination.
Do you have any more nominations? So all in favor of reappointing Luther Jones to the Historic Preservation Committee, raise your hand and say aye.
Hi.
All opposed, by like sign, motion carries. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Luther.
Mayor, can I remind everybody to put your mics forward and speak in, because it's not picking you up very well. Make sure when you speak right into it.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Okay, so, the next thing on our agenda is, public notice to the Bryson Park Playground Equipment Survey to be opened online for people to be able to, make their recommendations and choices for the options on that, playground equipment. And, it's been recommended to me to ask Natalie to shed some light on this. I think you know more about this than the rest of us do.
So, survey's open now, and you're just pulling it up. Yeah. So, this is the only way they can take the survey. They have to go through the link, correct, Amanda?
That's correct,
All
yes.
right, so citizens will be able to go through the website to find the Bryson Park survey, and this is basically to give the board some ideas of what the community wants to see at Bryson Park. I'm super excited about this because I think when it's done, it's gonna be the nicest park in Sylva. All brand new equipment, and I would love to see some handicap accessible equipment as well.
This is a concept that we received,
Okay,
just for information.
do you have any other concept photos? Just that one?
I think Jake's gonna be bringing you more information at
Okay.
that meeting on the 25th.
This is your survey.
Pretty short, quick survey. Hopefully, we can get a lot of responses. That way we can make sure we meet the wants and needs of people in our community, so. When does this survey close, Amanda?
The night of February 8th.
February
Which is actually the date we're asking you to set for a year beginning citizen.
That's next thing on the agenda. So, I would entertain a motion that we schedule a public hearing for Bryson Park Playground Equipment renovations for February the 8th.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have any discussion? Being no discussion, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed, by like sign, motion carries. I think I'm gonna ask, Richard to give us a little explanation for this request for authorization to join the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance. Can you enlighten us?
I mean, purchasing, you can normally do bids and accept bids from different companies. There's certain standards that you have to meet when you're bidding or purchasing items. State statutes also allow you to join what they call a purchasing alliance. And there are two of them that are widely used by a lot of local governments in the state. The first one is the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance, which I think is actually based out of Texas. The second one is the Purchasing Cooperative America. And these associations draw up plans and specifications on certain, pieces of equipment. A lot of use things of that nature. When they do a nationwide bid, and if you are a member of either alliance, you can purchase those items off of that bid. So staff doesn't have to do separate plans and specifications or stuff. But when you purchase an outdoor, like swings and slides, I mean, they're really hard to do a specific, description of some of those, because each manufacturer's got different things they use. They got different specifications, but this company, both of these have spent an extensive amount of time doing specifications for something like that. I mean, as we're moving forward to purchase those items in this park, I think this would be one of the easiest ways to get two prices that have been vetted nationwide. And when you're doing that much business, the thought process, Tommy, is that you get a much better deal on these pieces they're selling nationwide as opposed to a small town doing it themselves. So what we're asking for authorization is for the town to join both organizations. I mean, as we move forward with Bryant Park, we should be able to get a price, both alliances, so that you can compare one against the other. You're gonna be spending several $100,000 on this equipment. This is just one opportunity we could use those and make it a lot easier. State, I think it would give you an easier decision also. That's what we're asking this organization of the town to join both alliances. There is no cost involved. You don't have to buy anything from them. That option is there if you want to use it. I've seen it used very well in several, towns and counties I've been in. Well, it just makes it so much easier because somebody else has done all the hard work for you already.
So if I'm understanding correctly, by joining this, we weed out the complications of having to accept bids for each piece of equipment and allow them to be sort of like a purchasing agent for us.
Yeah.
But
Now, will they have some of the equipment that Natalie is mentioning about the
Yes.
handicap?
Yes, they'll have all of them. Whatever you want to buy, they'll have that up there.
Huh?
See, they've already got a price. So you already know what you're going up and start.
anybody else?
It makes it so much easier.
So I would entertain a motion that we authorize the town of Sylva to join the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance and the Purchasing Cooperatives of America.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have any discussion? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. All opposed by like sign. Motion carries. Okay, so the last thing on the agenda is one of the hardest things that any of us have to do. But it's something that deserves some discussion. Being trying to live a life as a Christian man and caring about others in the community and those who are less fortunate. That's the Johnny Phillips at home that writes checks out of my checkbook. The mayor's seat is a different seat, and we have to look after the town of Sylva. And I've thought about this matter a great deal. I know others have thought about it a great deal. I want to approach this in just the right way. We have wound up being a little town in a hole in western North Carolina. That's the only one that does not have a panhandling ordinance to not ban panhandling, but to regulate in a way that it can be managed. And in a way that we can sort of have some control over what Mary mentioned when this subject came up before about people's first impression when they come to Sylva. We're a tourist town. We don't have any industry. Tourism is what we have. We want people to want to come back here. We want people to want to move here. So, we have a situation where we have adjoining towns on each side of us, Franklin and Waynesville, have panhandling ordinances. Asheville now has a panhandling ordinance that's probably the most efficient one out of the three of what I've read. What I'm asking for is a motion to instruct our staff to construct us a panhandling ordinance somewhere along the lines of the way Asheville wrote theirs, what fits our town the best, using staff that you meet from City Hall, Eric Ridenhour, our attorney, Chief Hatton, anybody else in the town that needs to have input on this thing, but I'd like for you to come back to us with an ordinance that we can consider and have a public hearing on, and hopefully something we can pass that is, that moves our town forward in the right direction. So I would entertain a motion that we instruct our staff to do just that.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have any discussion? Okay, any no discussion?
Yeah, I have some comments.
Okay.
I agree with you that it's a complicated and
Yeah.
a multifaceted topic that I've done some research on, but I do not consider myself an expert by any means, because most of my research has been in the last 48 hours. So, but I have done some pretty extensive research. I just want to really offer some opinions, which is that I think we need to be very careful not to get anywhere in the realm of criminalizing poverty. And I realize that's a subjective statement, but it's a very important one. When people are panhandling and out asking for money, the vast majority of the time they're doing so because they're in a situation of need. And I don't want to be part, or the town, our town to be part of criminalizing that position. That would be my very first concern. A second one would be, in my research, I found that a major concern in creating panhandling ordinances, and they come in many different shapes and sizes, but is that it's generally considered an individual's First Amendment right to solicit, to speak to other people in public. And so it'd be very careful, and I'm sure that we would, but I want to go on record as saying that that has to be a concern. There have been many panhandling ordinances that have been ruled illegal because they have been viewed as infringing on someone's First Amendment rights. We have to be very careful not to do that. After learning those things and kind of mulling on myself, I'm just speaking from my perspective. I'm not convinced that anything can be passed that isn't performative. I've not seen an ordinance, including Asheville's, that seemed like it would have a tremendous effect on the amount of panhandling that we're currently experiencing or the nature of it. So at this juncture, that's just what I've learned, and I want to offer those opinions as a board member, and that's what I want to say.
I'll add a word or two to my words to begin with. The idea that we're the only ones left, we seem to be getting panhandlers coming here from everywhere they used to be allowed to do it. I noticed in Asheville, I used to go over there and I'd see 30 or 40 people panhandling. I would sign up at every intersection. We ended up sleeping up against buildings and all kinds of things. They had a tremendous problem with it. They created an ordinance. I went over at Christmas, saw one. And I looked hard all over the city limits and found one panhandler in Asheville. Came back to Sylva and saw three. We didn't used to have. We're the hole that they're running to. And I think after reading the other ordinances, I'm convinced that Asheville's is the most forgiving and the one with the most legal advice involved. I think the others are a little short, maybe actually criminalizing being a panhandler. I think Asheville's ordinance may be a pretty good fit for us. And I'd like for Eric and our folks to research it, tweak it, do whatever we think is necessary to let us feel good about having something that eliminates us being the only ones in Western North Carolina that don't. But yeah.
I would like to address this in a manner that no one has spoken of. I myself, and actually I called you and told you about Asheville. I've been all over Asheville downtown, above the mall. I've seen them 40 and 50 deep up there. Now you see no one. So it appears something is working on it. They just didn't snap their fingers to make this happen. But the one thing I think that everybody is not really taking into consideration is when you have someone on the sidewalk of a busy road like 107 with inexperienced drivers coming from the schools with other impatient drivers out there. Then we're gonna put all these public workers out there that's gonna be working on the road. Someone steps out next to the road and all of a sudden there's a domino effect in a wreck. How is the rest of us going to try to explain to someone that their child got killed because a panhandler stepped out to pick up $5 that he don't want to work, he just wants the money? We need to look at the safety factors of what this is bringing in a busy Highway 107. Highway 107, we've got to remember there's 12,000 plus kids that goes to Western. It is a busy road. My concern is when someone steps out there and they cause a chain reaction accident, how we going to explain it to the working crew that's doing the job on the road? We're not doing our job to keep these people out of the way. I've never been on a road construction project, and in my line of work, I've been on bunches of them. I've never been on a road construction project that I would allow anyone to panhandle, even be on there without being part of a company that's working on it, much less than someone out there begging for money. We need to take into consideration the safety behind all this, as well as for the panhandler. Yes, I agree. I've got a deep heart for poverty, but some of these people are not out there for poverty. They came in here, like Johnny said, because they have left these other towns and they know that no restrictions are here. So they're just running free reins. This is happening everywhere, folks. And I'm thinking, we need to look at it, because if someone gets hurt out there, then we're gonna be right back here in front of the board trying to figure out now what we're doing. That's all I got to say.
I have personal experience with this sort of thing. Last Wednesday, woke up to going to my door for somebody beating on my door at 7 o'clock in the morning, wanted me to take them to where the homeless are. And Chris Haddon's people came, and of course they left. They didn't want to talk to the police or let the police give them a ride to where they wanted to go. They wanted to they're starting to beat on people's doors on their homes. And mine's one of them. The police responded to my house last Wednesday morning, 7 o'clock.
Did you feel an additional ordinance was needed to address that?
No, not to address that, no. But I think we're starting to get more people that are not from here. They're from wherever they used to be able to pay. So, anybody else would like to make a comment about it?
An ordinance that would not ban panhandling, then it wouldn't, there would still be panhandlers and they would still be able to panhandle. So is the goal,
To be regulated,
so what is our goal as a board with the ordinance?
to regulate places where it can happen, where there are places within Asheville's ordinance that does allow it in safer areas. And the police department's in charge of that there. So I'm not sure how ours would be worded, if it wanted the chief of the police to issue a permit for them to do that, or how they word it exactly, but I've not seen what would come back to us yet. Then we may see it come back to us and decide we want to make some changes. But start with getting the staff to bring us a draft based on our thoughts and conversations.
Just one last thing. So if there's still panhandlers, because First Amendment, there could be panhandling, then what, I just don't understand, because it sounds like we want the panhandlers to go away, is what it sounds like.
To some degree, yes. We can't, in my view anyway, we can't fix the whole world. We've got some good programs here in our town. We've got some good people in our town. I'd be well in favor of our town getting them together with our county commissioners, with our local churches, with groups like Circles of Hope. See if we can't really, if we had our numbers down to a reasonable number of homeless people, we might actually be able to make a real meaningful change in their life. actually try to help them re-enter society. That's what Searchers of Hope does. And they could use our help. There's a way to come out to the good with this. We can't fix the whole world, and we can't fix all of them that come here because they can't panhandle where they used to.
Is the behavior that we don't, the undesirable behavior panhandling itself? Or behaviors that some perceive common among panhandlers? That's a distinction in my mind. Is what when I talk to people about it, I hear that they don't want people lurking over them when they're at an ATM. They don't want people loitering outside their business or interrupting their business. Those are all legitimate concerns, but to me, when you get in the realm of trying to prevent people from panhandling in general, I see that contextually quite differently, perhaps legally quite differently.
It's my understanding that Asheville's ordinance does have ways that it allows people to continue to panhandle in safer, organized places. I don't think that what they have is not a ban, it's a regulation. And that's what I would hope ours would come to be.
I'm just hearing that we want to reduce the amount of panhandlers.
I mean,
That doesn't sound like that's what that would do.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how you make everybody happy with this, but are you saying you're in favor of more panhandling?
I don't have a particular aversion to someone panhandling.
Okay.
I've heard the statement that it's not good for business. I own a business. I think there's a lot of things to balance there besides, and I agree that the tourism is a big part of our economy. But I don't know that anything in the realm of targeting people who are in a state of poverty and asking for help should be a high priority for addressing tourism. That's just my personal.
Yeah, I don't think panhandlers is gonna draw tourism for us. I don't see that happening.
No, I don't, that's not.
And you
Surely.
know, there's other concerns. There's concerns with, there are ladies that generally used to get their morning exercise by walking on Main Street in Sylva that have now stopped because homeless people are approaching them at 6:30 in the morning when they've got their sweatpants on and they're going to get their exercise. My ex-wife is one of them. So there's more than just reaching out. The cars bowed up in front of the one behind them and causing a wreck to get $5. There's safety for our long-time citizens that need to be considered, and not necessarily just the fact of whether or not one of them will actually harm someone or not, but the ladies that have lived here their whole life deserve to be afraid to go walk on Main Street and Sylva.
And there's where another safety issue comes into play, like I was saying. I don't think you like it too well, somebody walking up behind you at ATM. I'm raised in the mountains, and you walk up behind the wrong person at ATM, Mr. Hatton's gonna be getting a phone call because somebody may get hurt. And I understand the compassion with poverty, but you gotta look at it. If you want to feel sorry for these people, feel sorry a little bit more about the concerns of the people that have these problems that could possibly hurt them. I mean, somebody walk up, jump out of the bushes and holler, give me $2. And I mean, a lot of people concealed carry, men and women. Somebody gets shot real quick. I mean, poverty does strange things, and I agree, but we've got to we need to look at what's going on. 5 years ago, well, let me not say 5, but I would say less than 10 years ago, this wasn't Sylva. Sylva didn't have this. I've lived here for 62 years. Sylva's never had this. This is not Sylva. So that part of it, we can't say, oh, it's always been here, because it hasn't. It has not. I've lived in the city limits all my life, and it has not been a problem until now. We need to think about this, and we need to think about the safety issues. Like he said, there's women that likes to walk. I see them every day, but some of them, and I've had them that mention the same thing to me. They're scared to walk in town. Well, how do you explain that? I mean, I can have the same women to come and speak to you, anybody here. And when they express their concerns, and then we start talking about remorse, you know, as far as the poverty, we still got to think about people's safety in this town. I mean, you know, like Johnny, we can't cure the world.
There's another matter here that's not being mentioned is that, you know, we're acting as if handing $5 out the window of your car is the only way you can reach out and help someone less fortunate than you are. There's tons of ways that good citizens, good people, even our town government can reach out to try to help folks in need without endangering people driving in traffic or endangering a 16-year-old driver that's decided that texting is more important than the car in front of him that's trying to give away $5, you know. I don't see this, I see this as a plus for our town. And I think it might even be an awakening to the people that do have a soft heart for folks that are less fortunate, and cause us to reach out farther than just out the car window for $5. Try to go actually make a difference in their lives and through circles of hope, through churches, through joining with the county commissioners to get a fund together to help these folks. There's a lot of things we can do. This is also one thing we should do.
I think I have a question similar to Natalie and Brad, where I'm wondering, is this really an issue of panhandling or more of public conduct? And I'm wondering if maybe we can make this request for staff to develop a proposed ordinance be more about conduct or solicitation and not so much focusing on the panhandling element. Because I think we all don't want any of our citizens, rich or poor, to be harassed.
Yeah.
It's not a question of poverty or rich. You know, there's a lot of mental health troubles right now. And we need to give our police something tangible to work with. Harassment, not so much.
Right.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. And the Waynesville ordinance addresses things of that nature. It's a little more strict than what I think we're asking for. It actually allows permits for solicitation for certain things. For people who want to make music on the street, they can open their guitar case and take tips. They can't verbally ask for money, but they can accept it. You get a permit and you do it like you're supposed to. But there again, in their permit, it absolutely forbids even with a permit to beg, you know.
So can we revise this and say that we would like to request the staff to develop a proposed solicitation ordinance and see what the police and the attorney come back with, and maybe there's a line item that addresses everything, but maybe that's not really what our entire focus is.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think the actual ordinance is referred to as a panhandling ordinance. Waynesville's ordinance is a solicitation ordinance. Franklin's is entirely different altogether. It actually is a mechanism to permit solicitation any way you want to. You can buy a permit from them to go panhandle, but they're going to have the police chief tell you where you can safely do it and give you a permit for a day to do it.
Are you required to get a permit?
Yes, yes, you're in violation of the law if you don't get a permit and do it where the police chief says it's safe.
Does that infringe on freedom of speech or on?
Courts have ruled that it does. Courts have ruled that it does.
We have to-
There's been, that's the reason that people are talking about leaning toward the way Asheville did theirs, because there was a little more legal advice went into what Asheville did, you know. So I think we put some trust in our staff. They know our words, they know our feelings, they know what we want. Let's see what they bring back to us. And
We
if
did
you'd like to
this.
revise the motion, it's fine with me. If you'd like to make or rescind the motion we have and let Mary make a new motion.
We just, I don't know, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, we did this and we learned a lot from it.
Exactly a year ago,
Okay.
December 22nd.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We did learn a lot from that and we can build on that as opposed to repeating.
Yeah, let's look, I don't
Look at
want,
this from
I don't want to
another way.
repeat, I don't want it to die for lack of a motion.
Sure.
I want it to get to the point to where we can get an ordinance before us, pick and choose what we can all agree on and get something that gets us started in the right direction.
So I would like to make the motion that we request for the staff to develop a proposed solicitation ordinance.
Yeah.
I have a pending
We
motion.
have a pending
First,
motion.
we have a pending motion first from Mr. Ostrowitz, so we either need to vote on that or have it withdrawn or whatever before we can go on to the next.
You want to withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Mary, would you like to make your motion?
And I made my motion.
Yeah, so we have a motion,
Okay.
Can you repeat it?
Sure. I would like to request for our staff to develop a proposed solicitation ordinance. Are you okay with that wording?
yes. I am,
And the rest?
uh,
I think we're talking about apples and oranges and we need to
We are.
focus in that we're trying to just protect our people despite walkers,
right.
people in less fortunate situations. We just want to take care of everybody.
Thank you, Mary. I just want to make sure as a board or suggest that moving forward, when we talk about these types of subjects, that we talk about the people, they're humans that we're talking about, that we talk about them like the humans that they are. I heard a couple of things come out that just, I don't know if that's gonna go over too well with anyone. Some of these people are not able to work. I've talked to some of these people. I've tried to help some of these people and they're not out there scamming. They're not out there asking for money because they're capable to work and that's just the easy way. These people, there are people in our town that legitimately cannot work.
I honestly believe that.
And I personally don't agree with, for the sake of tourism, hiding people or sticking people in a corner because they are unhoused or poor. And that, to me, that's what it sounds like when we bring tourism to the forefront of the purpose for this ordinance.
Well, I don't say there's a purpose, but it's definitely a argument point.
I just want to make sure that everyone, that we do a good job of not dehumanizing people, because these are humans. That we're talking about people just like us, and they are here in our town. Whether they have a house or not, they're here, so.
Thank you, Helen. We have a motion on the floor. Correct, Nick?
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, by like sign. Motion carries. And we'll wait and see what the staff brings back to us. Work on it. I think that concludes our business for the day, and I will entertain a motion with John.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have any discussion on John? None, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Stand adjourned.
Yeah.